Shalom, welcome to JewishTV.media. Today's topic is Seder Hishtalshilut. Seder Hishtalshilut is the order of evolvement. What does that mean? Normally, the way regular people who have not learned Kabbalah or have not thought about this issue much think about the relationship between the divine and the world is simple. There's a God, and He creates a world. Like a human being might create a home, might create a cake, might create anything that they do. But what Kabbalah explains is that although that could have been the case, God is all capable, and therefore He could have simply said, I want a world and here's a world. The reality is that He created it in a different form for a particular reason. What is the form He created the world in? If God would have only created the world as a human being creates a home, then the relationship between the world and God would be really non-existent. Because how can we, finite human beings, think of connecting with, having any sort of relationship with an infinite God? You wouldn't have a finite, an ant, having a relationship with a finite human being, because the distance is so great. How much more so us humans compared to a totally infinite God? It seems to be an unbridgeable gap. So what God does when He creates is He emanates from Himself something called godliness. Godliness is not God, but it is nothing but God. As the ray of the sun is not the sun, but nothing but the sun. And thereby, through this godliness, we are able to ascend a ladder of spirituality, appreciating deeper and deeper dimensions of godliness. And then we could act more godly as well. Now, this ladder is called Hishtalshilut, which means a chain. It's a chain evolvement. It's the evolvement of a chain. The evolvement from a from the highest level of godly light, and then as it comes down the chain of worlds that God creates, it becomes diminished level by level. This diminishing of the light is called tzimtzum, which we'll deal with in another opportunity. That's a contraction and a concealment of the light in order to bring another lower level into existence, until finally it comes all the way down into our reality, our world. And it exists within our world, but it is so concealed within our world that for the common person can walk around the world without knowing that there is godliness in the world, without knowing that there's godliness within them. The task, and what we will try to achieve as humans, is to actually reveal the godliness in us and in the world around us, and thereby being able to lift ourselves, to become more godly people. And here too, we can lift ourselves one level, and the next level, and a level higher than that, and so on and so forth. Indeed, everything that God prescribes for us to achieve in this world is related to this concept of godliness, and to what level of godliness we are relating to and reaching and having a connection to. So there is the normal process of the Seder Hishtalshilut, the order of evolvement, where we get the light of Hashem in a particular form through a diminishing of levels one after another. And then you have a Shabbat, you have a Jewish holiday, you have a mitzvah that you do. What happens in these events is that we reach a much deeper, greater level of godliness. So what in a normal fashion would have to go through 10 steps and therefore a diminishing of 10 levels until it reaches us, until we could relate to it, on a day like Shabbat, the whole world, it says, is elevated. We reach a higher level so that we access a much deeper, greater level of godliness. What that means practically is we're able to access deeper and more spiritual dimensions of our soul. We're able to relate to a much deeper, higher, greater godliness in the world. And that gives us a major appreciation of why knowing these different levels and knowing about these concepts actually so important. Because through appreciation and knowledge, we gain a greater joy in the events in our life, in the mitzvot that we do. Every milestone in our life cycle, every milestone in the Jewish calendar, every mitzvah we do is associated with this idea of godliness that we are relating to in one form or another. And this will explain countless concepts in Judaism, countless questions, countless ideas that when appreciating that there is this godly chain of evolvement, we can begin to have an appreciation for so much more and in a much deeper way of much of what Yiddishkeit has to say for us. Thank you for joining us today on JewishTV.media. I hope you will join us another time.
JewishTV.media